What is going on, you guys? I am back today with another video. I did not get a chance to make a video last weekend due to the fact that I was out of town, and then I was just kind of playing catch up all week, so I really just didn't get around to it. But the important thing is I'm back today. Today I want to talk to you guys about my 4-month update of working at my first job as a front-end developer. Please excuse my voice if I sound a little nasally or whatever. My allergies are killing me this morning, but I'm doing my best and the show must go on. And a little bit about where I work for those who don't know, which is probably almost everybody. I work for an e-commerce company. We have a very large e-commerce site built on the BigCommerce platform. No, I won't tell you the name of the company that I work at. Please don't ask. I have my own reasons for this. If you figure it out, that's great. Keep it to yourself. I just don't really talk about it on my social media platforms. Now, if we rewind a bit back to when I first started on November 2nd of 2020, starting out, things were pretty slow. There was obviously kind of like an initial period of getting access to my accounts and getting access to the GitHub repos and things like that. And then there was a period of time where they really just had me kind of learning my way around the code base, not really doing a whole lot of, not a whole lot of big stuff going on. I was kind of doing some small like CSS updates and learning the classes and things like that, because we use a stack that I've never used prior to working here. Our website is built on BigCommerce, and basically our stack mostly consists of HTML, handlebars, JavaScript, and Sass. And then there's some updates depending on what is happening or what we're doing that are actually made in the BigCommerce client itself instead of in the code base. So our code kind of lives in two different places. So it definitely took some time to adjust to the new stack and just the workflow and to get used to it. And I'm still kind of doing that to this day, depending on what I do. Like, there's obviously a lot of things in this code base that I have not touched, some code that I don't even know where it lives at, and it takes me a little bit to find it. And that's totally fine, because it would be the same thing no matter where you go, even if it was a stack that I had worked in before. Generally, production code bases are pretty large, so it, like you're obviously not going to know where every single little thing is. You're going to have to look for stuff and kind of figure out how it works and how it interacts with other things. So yeah, I did spend some time doing some pretty basic stuff, some product updates and things like that are really simple, that kind of had me learning my way around the BigCommerce client and how to make updates in there, in the WYSIWYG editor, which, if you don't know what that is a what you see is what you get editor. It's basically like a text input that takes in raw HTML, and it will show you kind of an output of like what you're expected to see from that code. Hence the name, what you see is what you get. And if I'm being totally honest, like the first month and a half of working at this job, I was actually like really disappointed, because I spent all this time learning so much in-depth knowledge about JavaScript and React and all this other stuff that I wasn't getting to use it here. And I was pretty bummed out about that, honestly. Like, I had been here a month and a half and hadn't written any JavaScript at all, and I was like, what gives? Like, this is boring. Like, this isn't what I thought it was. And it was actually just about a month and a half after working here that I kind of got handed my first big project. And this was a fairly large scope project of a feature that I was going to build out that would be on probably like 75 or 80% of all of the pages on our site, because it was going to be on every single category page that lists products. And it was interesting because this is a feature that I was building out that is not standard by BigCommerce, so I had to build it custom from the ground up, and it was a super daunting task to begin with, because I was like, just like any project, you're like, well, where do I start? Like, how am I possibly going to do this? And I just kind of took it piece by piece and went from there. This project was very challenging from the start, because it involved doing a lot of things that I had never done before. But that was a challenge that I was interested to take on, both to make myself a better developer and just because I was ready for something challenging. I was tired of just like updating HTML and things like that. So I was very excited to take on a new challenge. A little bit about the feature that I was tasked to build. Basically, I was going to be building from the ground up a swatch selector that would show like like color samples or texture samples of the product below it on their product cards on a category page, and then you would be able to click on these little sample swatches to update the thumbnail above to see different samples of the product prior to going to the actual product page. Kind of weird that this isn't like something offered by default by BigCommerce, and that you either have to buy a plugin or build it from the ground up. But anyways, that's why I ended up having to do this from the ground up. Our site did not have this feature, and they really wanted to add it, so I took on the task of building it. So as I mentioned, building this feature was actually quite challenging from the start. There were definitely a lot of things that I have not done before or had to do differently than I normally would. It's very interesting because we have this very complicated structure to work around. We have limitations put in place because our platform lives on BigCommerce. There's a lot of things that BigCommerce does not allow us to do by default, and they make it very difficult to implement these as custom features. And because of that, we have to do a lot of workarounds, which requires a bit of creative engineering. For example, on the category pages of our website, I do not have access to product data. Because of this, there's no way to make an API call to get the product data. There's no database that's holding it that I can query it from. I basically have to create a CSV file with data for every single product we have, and create a line item for every single piece of data, every swatch, every thumbnail. And I have to parse in this data manually and match it up by an ID number to the product that it is associated with. If not for the limitations of BigCommerce, this could completely be circumvented by just doing an API call and filtering the data. But that's not the case here. They like to make things difficult for us, and because of that, I get a great learning opportunity. To date, where that feature sits at is all of the functionality is completed. I'm basically just waiting on image assets to update old images coming in from the creative team, and I'm pretty much just updating those as they come in. And once that is completed, I will basically set up a test server for the rest of our dev team to test out the feature that I created. And once that gets approved, once the executives sign off on it, then it'll pretty much get pushed into production and be live on the website. So that's pretty much where that's at now. I hope that this will be finished up in the next week or two, depending on when creative gets me image assets. But the large bit of the grunt work is done. It's really just small stuff now, just time-consuming stuff, updating images, and that's about it. As for the team that I work with, the team has been great. Small team, very supportive. Technically, our team is made up of, I think, like 6 or 7 people, something like that. I sound a little unsure about that due to the fact that, so all of us are considered web dev department, but 3 of us are technically developers. Only 3 of us actually work in the code base directly. The other like 4 or so people are titled as web developers, but technically they work more on the product listing side. So a lot of the bulk of the work that they do is inside of the BigCommerce platform. They do updates in like the WYSIWYG editor and things like that. But as far as like actual web dev working in the code base, pushing to GitHub, things like that, there's about 3 of us. Everybody on the team is super nice, super supportive, very laid back environment, I would say. I don't have any issues with anybody on the team. Everybody's great, everybody gets along, and I mean, I can't really ask for much more than that. The overall work environment / experience, pretty good. I can't complain too much. I get to work remote, I work from home. I have no commute, which is really nice. We do a stand-up meeting every Tuesday. That usually lasts about 4.5 hours or something like that. Basically updating management with what's going on, what we're working on, things like that, and what needs to be worked on going forward. And then we have another small meeting on Friday without management, basically just communicating within the team things that have been worked on throughout the week and where those projects stand. But that really wraps up this video, you guys. I don't have too much else to say right now about my 4-month update other than things are going well. It's very interesting that at a company the size of the one that I'm at, that I have the opportunity, especially so early on, to implement a feature that will be so largely utilized and seen across the entire website. Usually larger companies, like at least like in the revenue range of ours, being a junior developer, you would probably not get a chance to make very much of a difference. I don't know this firsthand, but it's just what I hear. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to smash the like button down below. And if you're interested in the rest of the content on my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified when I post new content. Until next time, guys.